Hello, what is up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Tenno Report. This is a series that I'm going to be doing for Warframe, probably on a weekly basis. Just talking about kind of the basics of what's going on in the game. They should be helpful, just as helpful, I think, for beginning people as well as returning players or people who play the game, but sometimes maybe don't see some of the finest kind of most recent details. Starting up with the recent update, which was update 13, it introduced the dark sectors, which are now these new zones that you can unlock by going to various planets. They have additional missions that are now opened up, but you can only access them with a solar rail. You need your clan, basically, or alliance needs to build one, and that's the way you can reach those. And they're very profitable. You can get a pretty good amount of credits and also a chance for some of the more rare resources. Obviously, also clans and alliances that build a solar rail and take control over those sectors can also impose taxes. Whether those are resource taxes or credit taxes, that's purely dependent on what the clan decides to do. And if other clans don't like that, they can challenge them and then deploy their own rail, which starts up a conflict where players need to support one of the two clans. You don't have to be in either clan in order to support this, but depending on which solar rail takes the most lethal damage, that's the one that's going to be destroyed at the end of if the conflict goes up to 2 days. Sometimes solar rails can get destroyed really quick. So far, that this has meant that there have been certain alliances and clans that have been very successful, like Eclipse. That's one of them. And one of the reasons why they've been doing this is because they actually very rarely impose a resource tax, which is a really good thing, because at the end of the day, credits are a good thing, but people don't care about them as much, because even if you impose a tax on credits, players are very unlikely to really care about that. And that's what they do. They put about a 20% tax on credit, but you already get a lot of credits from that mission that you're running, so it doesn't really matter that much. But the clans that have pretty much been having problems so far are those that get a percentage of the resources. So that's a quick tip also for a lot of you that maybe are starting up an alliance or a clan that wants to deploy a solar rail. Don't be that guy that just steals other people's resources. People won't like you. Anyways, this also means that there have been some potentially now good missions that have opened up. One of which is on Ceres, or Ceres. That's I believe how it's pronounced, called Simony, or Simony. I think it's Simony. It's basically a mission that's very good for Oricon cells, especially since Oricon cell drops have now been nerfed. Which is kind of probably the big thing to talk about now. That's actually kind of changed a lot how people now go for a lot of the prime weapons as well. Things have just kind of become slower and a little bit harder to get, but it's nothing compared to what it was like back in like the early days of beta. Oricon cells are still fairly easy to get compared to back then, but basically this mission is a defense mission on Ceres, and it's against infested, so I suggest that you bring a good slash damage weapon, or something with fire damage. That would work well as well. And bring something like a Vauban. If you get yourself a Vauban and a good support frame. I was doing it with Nyx. I'm pretty new with Nyx. I haven't played her that much. I'm just leveling her up. But I found that her Chaos ability can be kind of useful in certain moments. Just make sure you don't use Chaos when Vauban puts up his Void, because then what happens is all the enemies get knocked down for a second, and they might start ending up fighting each other instead of getting close to the actual Void and then eventually getting sucked into it. You don't want that because it just makes everything slower. Talking about efficiency when it comes to that mission, Simony, one of the things that I do suggest that you do is you make your Vauban put the portal right in front of your cryopod, the cryopod you're defending. This will save you so much time. Oh my god, I've been seeing so many people that just start walking around the map, and I even do that sometimes. I get carried away just because of the thrill of, you know, getting them killed before they even get to you. It's actually much better if you just wait for them to all come over to the cryopod right in front of that area. On this mission, you have a little ramp, and that ramp, they have to get up there, so there's no way for them to come from the sides. There is one case when the cryopod moves. It gets moved, I believe, randomly, but generally every 5 rounds or so there's a random chance of it moving. You can get moved to the central section of the map, where at that point, yes, infested can come from both sides, and then you have to be a little bit more mindful about that, but it's still not too hard, especially not until like level 30. But yeah, that mission is really good if you have a max level Warframe, even if you don't. But if there's at least one person on your team that has a Valban, and preferably a max level Valban, you can pretty much carry this to about 25, 30. And I noticed that the average rate of Oricon cells that I was getting was about 2. And I know that doesn't sound like that much, but you're really saving yourself, I think, a lot of other time to also gather other resources, because there are certain other missions like Tethys, on Tethys, General Sargus Rook, who is also known for being relatively good to go and farm Oricon cells by just killing him, and also you can get not Ember Prime, but you can get yourself some Ember blueprints. And wow, if you got yourself some Ember Prime blueprints from a boss in the regular world, that would be pretty cool. But no, you get yourself some Ember blueprints, and if you already have Ember, you can just sell those, and it's still, you know, a good amount of, you know, cash that you get. Now, you know, I still prefer this defense mission purely because of, you know, sometimes some of the cool combos you can get with the Warframes are awesome, and I also get so many other resources and mods. I actually save up so much more time gathering other resources when I go to this mission. So I preferably go with Simony. It's been becoming very popular in the last couple of days, especially, dare I say, in the last week. But it's been kind of, especially since the nerf on Oricon cells, it's been the main way of getting Oricon cells now. It's pretty much, I'd say, the best way. If you guys have found a better way, please feel free to put something down in the comments below. Just, you know, fill me in, because maybe I don't know. But from what I noticed, that's kind of the general consensus between people and between the community. Now, on the other hand, neural sensors, you can go and do Al-Advi. That's kind of a tip, people who already don't know this. You can go and get neural sensors from Al-Advi. He drops between 1 and 2. Sometimes he doesn't drop anything, but, you know, I did. He's also really quick to kill. But yeah, he also drops Valkyr, and I'm building my first Valkyr right now. So I was never interested in getting her. She was a low priority, but I figured might as well do it now. So Valkyr, you can, if you already have her, once again, just as the same thing you can do pretty much the same thing that you do with Ember. You can just sell those. You can't trade them, unfortunately, because they're not prime, but you can sell them, you know, on, you know, regular store and get yourself some small credits. They're generally between 3,500, 2,500, something like that. And then there's another mission that has been, people argue between this mission and Simony series. They're both defense missions, but people argue about which one is better for Oricon cells. Now, I did the mission on Saturn, Helen. That's the mission. People say that it's good for Oricon cells. I did not drop a single Oricon cells. I did it for about an hour. I don't know. I got some plastids and nanospores. I did not get anything else. I don't know where this rumor is coming from, but it is a good place to go for plastids and nanospores. It's definitely a good place. You're fighting Grenier, okay? So that means, you know, there's still kind of slash damage is still fine. But I personally prefer Simony series, especially because when a lot of the enemies don't take cover, like Infested are pretty dumb, so they don't have to take cover. They're all pretty much melee based, so they kind of just run towards you. I'm sure in future installments they're already working on reworking Infested, so that means they're probably going to be adding some maybe ranged or like flying units. I bet they're probably going to add some flying units. So I personally would go with Simony. It's much easier to really farm that, so forget about Saturn Helen, at least. Not unless you have something you really love that mission, you just want to do it. I would prefer Simony. Now some other things about, this is all, again, towards some new players, also, especially as like a first episode of me doing this. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the trade chat. And trade chat is a great function. And not just the trade chat, if you're also part of the council, so back when the game was in beta, you could purchase a founder pack. If you're in the council, you can use a special chat, which allows you to talk with generally some of the more experienced players, not necessarily, but a lot of them are founders, the people that have stuck with this game for as long as, you know. The other one is regional chat, which is, to me, in Europe, because I play in Europe, it's a little dead. But trade chat is a good option to also find out what the prices of weapons are. And though this does not matter that much until you actually start doing void missions, it's still a good thing to be aware of what the prices of prime blueprints are, mods, what they cost, Mods not so much, I don't follow them, but the primes are really what I care about, especially with void missions. So let's say I just bought a Bolter Prime. I bought mine for 40p, which P stands for platinum, obviously. So that wasn't necessarily a great deal. I realized that afterwards. Generally, Bolter Prime you try to get between 30 and 35. That's a good price. Anything about 40, 45, it's not terrible, but you know, there's some people that will try to sell it for you for 60, believe it or not. There was a dude that tried to sell it to me, just the blueprint, not the whole set. I'm talking about the whole set here. There was a dude that tried to sell me just the blueprint for 60 platinum, which is ridiculous. Another one is Lex Prime. It's actually known as being one of the harder ones to get because of the receiver, because the receiver takes so much time to get. Funny enough, the barrel is so easy to get, but you can get that still around 35 platinum, something like that, right? Very few people actually have it, and the people that do have it, they're gonna try and sell it for you for a lot of money. So, just a useful tip when you want to actually trade with someone. Try to start up the conversation, kind of, you know, this is, you know, because every time you ask, this is kind of a thing. When you ask someone, you know, when you start a trade chat, you know, start whispering each other, right? He's going to say, you know, hey, what's up? And then you're going to say, hey, what's up? He's going to say, you know, something like, so you want this blueprint, right? And then you, instinctively, you're going to say, yeah, how much are you offering it for? Almost every second player will tell you how much do you value it. And they do this purely because, to an extent, they want to trick you. They want to see if you're a new player and you actually know what the prices are or not. Because if they give you their information, that limits them from being able to actually get a good bargain from themselves. So basically, they're expecting you to say something like 60p or 50p. And the moment you tell them something lower than that, they're like, no. And then they give you their price anyways. They give you the price that they wanted for. And they say you either get it or not. Those people, just ignore them. There are some of them like that. Unfortunately, in any game that has any trade capabilities, there's quite a few of those types of people. But just ignore them, and I suggest that you instead try to, you know, just find people that are willing to bargain. You know, get a good price. If you get those people, also try to add them to your friends list so you can maybe trade with them in the future. That's a cool thing about this game. You can actually communicate with people. And yeah, that's it. Try to sell the small parts like the Bronco Prime stuff. They're in the Ock Bronco stuff. They're very easy drops. You can sell those for 5p, something like that. You know, some cases maybe if you want to try to be, you know, clever like some of those other people out there, you can try to sell it for 10. You know, that's still smart. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. Trying to trick someone is not necessarily a bad idea. It's good for you. So if you can get a 5 to 10 on a, let's say, a barrel or a receiver for a Bronco Prime, that's still good. I mean, you get 2 of those, sell 2 of those, and you got yourself, you know, a free form or something off the store. You can get that off the store. I mean, people still do that. You shouldn't be embarrassed for yourself if you get that. It's totally understandable, people that don't want to grind for the blueprints. So, you know, if you earn yourself by selling some Prime stuff, that's totally cool. And now, just finally, I know this was a long overall first video, but just going to talk a little bit about overall what I think of the Dark Sector stuff. I think it's a really good step in the right direction. I think that Digital Extremes should really do more of this type of stuff. I think that it's really cool to have this sort of player politics thing going on, and you know, it's really fun. Right now, it's true that Eclipse are pretty much the dominant ones, but there are some other ones out there that are making their way. They make themselves kind of noticeable on when they start conflicts. That's a really cool thing. I hope in the future it changes and it becomes even harder to own dark sectors. I definitely want to see more of that. They added a new system with the recent update 13.2 or something like that, called Spectres. Ooh, I'm getting out of breath here. Called Spectres, and Spectres are these things that now drop off of rescue missions. They're basically holograms that can help you. You can use them as a consumable when you're playing a mission, or you can donate them to your clan to be able to use them on solar rails, so that when invaders, other players, are attacking your solar rail in support of the opposing team or opposing clan, they get attacked by those holograms. So, and that's really cool. I think that's how it works. I've not tried it myself. This is what I'm saying this. I haven't actually crafted myself any of the specters yet. But mainly because my also clan doesn't have right now a solar rail. I'm in a very small clan. But yeah, that's how I know that they work. I think I believe that you can use them as basically you donate a bot or like an NPC to be on the rail, so that when other players are attacking, it's there. It's like a reinforcement. That's how I understand that it works. Correct me if I'm wrong. And finally, tips for starters. A little bit of tips for starters, really. I mean, a lot of this has been for, you know, people like myself who have been just coming back to the game after a pretty long break. A lot of people wonder whether, you know, some of the Warframes are worth buying off the store. I'd say no. You know, there are some that are more, you know, worth it because their prices are reasonable, but with the recent, you know, Platinum doesn't cost that much anymore, and especially if you try to do some trading with this Prime stuff, you realize how absurd the prices the DE is giving you on the store are. And I really hope they do something like Guild Wars with the whole gem and gold thing, where basically no matter how much inflation is, gems in Guild Wars still have value. I hope that they do something like this, where basically the value, the price, let me put it that way, the price of items somehow is adjusted on the DE store. I don't know how that's gonna work, but you know, there should be something there it would incentivize people to buy more. So, but this is a tip for people that want to get Loki and pretty much Loki Vault. Banshee is a really good one. She's not that hard to get, but you know, she's a little tedious. Just now with the whole Tenno lab thing, people that don't know about the Tenno lab, it's a thing that's in a dojo now. You can just, if you're in a clan that has that already, go in there and just research the blueprints if they're not already researched, and then make yourself a copy of that blueprint and just build yourself a Vault, a Banshee, or a Zephyr. Notice that I didn't mention Loki, because Loki is not in there right now, but what you can do is, you know, maybe that's the one and only frame I would ever be incentivized to get off the store, because Loki is generally a good endgame frame. It can be useful. I really love Ash, but I can totally understand why Loki can be better than Ash. You know, so he's a pretty good frame. And then another one is Nyx, which you know, Nyx, I remember that back in the day it was on, I believe it was Ares, the mission that, it was on Ares the planet that you could get her. Now what they've done, and this has been around for a while, but I figured I should mention it now. Once again, to those people that don't know this, Nyx is something that drops now from infested invasions. There's this really cool stuff that's going on now with these like dynamic events, basically invasions of planets. And if you go in there and you kill Forid, which is the boss that shows up in these invasions, it drops the blueprints for Nyx. And Nyx right now, I'm leveling her. You notice in this video, I'm leveling her. I absolutely love Nyx. She's a little weak with her abilities. I think they need to be adjusted. She's, you know, she's supportive, but there's some things that are just missing there, and I feel like it would be really cool to add more damage to her. And especially with her bolts, the psychic bolts, those things miss so much. So, in a way, I think you should. She's definitely worth crafting. She's definitely worth the potato, you know, to boost her up a little bit more, and you know, just get her from those invasions. And another thing, just one last thing, the helmets are going off the store, so you won't see them. I think after tomorrow, or I think it's after tomorrow. They're only going to be cosmetics now. But people who already have those helmets, I'm not sure, they haven't been very clear about what they're doing, but I think you can keep them as a stat item. I do not agree with this. I think that all helmets should be converted to cosmetical, because that means that people who already got them are now somehow stronger than new players that are coming into the game who can only get them as cosmetics. I know it's like small differences, but you know, some of them go up to 25%. You know, that's that's a big difference, I think. So I hope they change them all to cosmetics, but if they don't, then right now there are a bunch of alerts that are going on, and you should definitely try to do those to get yourself the helmet and craft it by, you know, the end of tomorrow. And yeah, that's basically it. That was the first kind of coverage of what's going on in Warframe right now. I hope I can do more of these types of videos. I call this the Tenno report. I don't know. I just figured it was just something that covers a little bit of everything. You know, a little bit of the economy, a little bit of the politics in the game.
I think there's so much going on with this game. It's developing so much. It's one of my favorite, really, right now, founder games, because it's one of the few ones that actually has been developing ever since they released their founder packs and went from closed beta to open beta. You know, and that speaks a lot, I think, to this company, and at the same time, it speaks very badly for other companies that did those whole founder pack things and never really developed their games all that much. There's so many of those. And, you know, what are we going to do? Blame Kickstarter for that stuff. But I think Warframe is definitely worth the chance right now. It's a great free-to-play game. They're adding, I think, cross-platform soon, so you can play between PlayStation 4 and PC. Go check it out if you haven't. I hope this video helped you guys, and I will see you guys next time.